So before we start this video, we need to make this very clear. There's a marathon right behind us, and they're playing really loud music. So if you hear some like cool jiving music,
it's Rock and Roll Savannah marathon. Rock and roll.
I said jiving, so I must be 85.
How old are you?
I must be 85. And if you are 85, you're still young at heart.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Sarah. This is another video in our van life FAQ series.
So if you're new here, the FAQ series is a real simple video. We actually just set up the camera wherever we're at and we answer your questions.
So apologies for the noise. We've got the road in front of us and we've got Rock and Roll Savannah marathon going on behind us. They should be almost done. The stragglers are still passing by, so
yeah. And we have our van right there.
And today we're answering, not really a question actually. Well, yeah, it's a question.
It's a question. It was actually came on YouTube.
Yeah, so this one came from Love Letters to Yourself. We got this on YouTube on one of our videos a couple days ago, and it says, hey guys, we're about to head into full-time van life in 2 days. What are some of the challenges that you faced this year that you'd want to pass on to new van lifers following in your footsteps to set up for success? It's a very loaded question. And I think we're gonna answer that in sort of like a roundabout way, and we're gonna say 17 things we wish we had known before we started van life. We don't know everything. These are just our experiences and what we've learned so far for the first 13 months we've been on the road.
Yeah.
If you guys have any suggestions of things you've learned or things you wish you had known that you want to share with the community, drop it in the comments below, and then I will pin a comment at the top of the comments for other people to read if you guys have some other suggestions.
All right, so with that, let's go.
Number 17, make a detailed budget, then add money to that number.
Van life is expensive. Now it can be cheap, I mean, depending on your build, whatever you want, but whatever you do, like Sarah said, come up with a budget and then add more money to that budget, because it ultimately will probably take you more money than you budgeted.
Even if you're trying to live minimal, whatever. There will always be something else that you need or something you have to repair or it breaks. It's just like a normal house or a normal car, except it's all of it combined into one. It gets expensive.
Number 16, car dealerships will not take you serious, especially if you're a girl, sometimes when you're a guy.
Okay, can we explain how we did this whole car? Yeah. All right, so the number one thing when you're buying a van is you have to be patient. The van market is really hot, which sounds completely ridiculous because they're cargo vans, but it's true. So I was the one originally who did most of the research on the vans. Chris and I were in it jointly where we were like talking about like, okay, what would be best? And then I did the research and had to learn about everything. And so I was the one who first started reaching out to these car dealers and to these owners of vans, but that wasn't working for me. And so we ended up trying something unintentionally. Unintentionally,
but here's the issue. I have a last name. Sarah has a different last name.
Even though we're married,
we are married.
My old name.
So what we would do is we would call these different car dealerships, and I would give them my last name and my phone number, which is from North Carolina, and her phone number is from Georgia, right? Or Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee, but they had no idea we were together, so we're getting at.
Yeah, so they had no clue. Every time, every car dealership that we ever called all over the country, every time they would always call me back first.
Even if I had called hours or days ahead of him.
Yes, they would always call me back first, and then like clockwork, maybe 20 to 30 minutes later, they would call her cell phone. And we were sitting in the same, living room while they were calling, and so
totally different tone in the messages too that we'd get.
Yes.
And I want to correct something. Chris said that all of the dealers we talked to were like this, and that hasn't been true. In fact, the one that we ended up buying our van from, which was Mercedes in Knoxville, Tennessee, we actually had a really great experience on both ends. Yeah. They were really nice to me and him. Very helpful. So thank you guys. And since then, we've run into other people who have been very helpful in the world. But go into it knowing that a girl can obviously do this very much on her own, but do know that it is hard. Know your stuff and don't let them call you sweetheart too many times. But you're not going to just experience this really with cars. It's going to be at Home Depot and all this kind of thing. So I'm not a solo female van lifer by any means because I have my husband, but I can speak to that world a little bit and say that you will face some different challenges just based on stereotypes. Number 15, don't be afraid to ask for help. Nobody really there's no one set way to do any of this van thing because everybody's sort of learning. I mean, it's sort of an odd little niche in and of itself. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Chances are, if you have a question, 20 other people before you have had the same question, and they're more than happy to help. They know what position you're in. That's why we're making this series. It's because we had these questions and we know other people have the same questions.
Yeah, and in our experience, when we reached out to other van life people or nomadic people, even before we were, even before we got into the van, 9 times out of 10 they would answer back and they were super helpful with it. So people are more than willing to help out as long as it's reasonable. Number 14, the people at the hardware store aren't going to get your project. Do your research and really know what's best for you.
On the flip side of that, be open to suggestions. I mean, there are things that the people at the hardware store, I told them what we were doing, and that's how we got such great grout for our tiles that have not broken. She gave me a more flexible grout. So these people know their stuff,
yeah.
But we had some pretty bad suggestions. They thought we were more building like a tiny home that was going to sit.
Yeah, and these people, they more than likely haven't been building in an RV or a van, and so their experience is a home. But when you say that you need
stuff for a van,
yeah, it's kind of like it goes over their head, as it should. It's not very common.
Yeah. There's just a lot of literal moving parts to a van, and so you're always going to have to think creatively and make sure that it's going to work for your situation. It's not the same as building a house. Number 13, there's a lot of really good and really bad information online.
Hopefully we fall in the good portion of that list.
But even what we're telling you guys isn't going to be the same as what everybody else is telling you, because everybody does this differently. You will see a lot of differing opinions and voices online, a lot of people who are stating that this is the one way to do it. When you're confused because you see opposing views on things, consult the pros, because 99% of the people online are not professionals.
No.
And this goes for people who have tens of thousands of followers or hundreds of thousands of followers online. They still may not be professional. So I highly recommend talking to pros.
Number 12, it's okay to stay longer or shorter amounts of time in the places that you like or dislike.
Yes. I think this took us a really long time to grasp, and we're still really guilty of not calling an audible and just getting out.
Mm-hmm.
There have been places we've stumbled into, and for whatever reason, it just doesn't work. Whether it's just bad weather or it's really crowded and it's like, we've been to so many places and we try to force ourselves to be happy staying there, when in reality we could go an hour up the road and have a very different experience, but we've hyped up the place that we're visiting for so long that we feel guilty if we leave.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, and like people have recommendations for us and they're like, you have to check this out, and we're like, oh, this is going to be amazing, and then when we get there,
usually it's circumstantial though, like it's not something that's wrong with the place, it's just we've gotten better at saying, okay, we have a limited amount of time, let's not force ourselves to like something that maybe just isn't jiving,
Yeah, and so when it's not working, like we've made it a rule, or we were trying to make it a rule, when it's not working, just leave. Like we have to move on to the next place. But
doesn't mean everywhere is always going to be easy. We're not looking for easy. There's too many places out there to explore to force yourselves to be in a place that isn't working out well.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And on the flip side, if you're at a place and you really love it, stay as long as you want.
And that happens more than the other.
Yes.
Well, there's more places that we like than dislike, so we find ourselves wanting to stay longer, which is why we've only visited 35 states, and we should have supposedly visited 50 by now.
Well, 49.
We're still learning.
Yeah.
Number 11, van life can be lonely, so you have to be intentional. And this may look like a lot of different things. There's a lot of people in the van community, which sounds so funny when you're on the outside, but it's true. There's a van community and people are really nice and they get what you're going through. But for us, we have friends all across the country. And so we are really intentional about reaching out to those friends when we can, of like, hey, we're passing through your town. Can we meet up? And it doesn't always work out. And sometimes we miss people and it just is unfortunate. But we really try to be intentional about seeing everyone we can across the country, because we don't have that steady group or that community that we had when we had a normal home. So make sure you have your friends. It'll keep you sane.
Number 10, find a routine and make commitments.
Routine is probably the hardest thing on the road, and we really thought that it would be easier to slip into a morning routine and stuff, because that's really important to us, to like get up, have our coffee, have some quiet time and like just be on our own for a little bit, and then get our run in and all this, whatever our routine is. It's really hard because you're pretty much staying somewhere new almost every night. I mean, the longest amount of time we're ever in the same city is like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that would probably be on the long side of things.
We still haven't found our perfect little routine of sorts, but for us right now, it's committing to doing things like marathon training plans or something like that, where it's, extended periods of time, like weeks at a time, we're committed to training or doing something. So, I guess fitness is just one of the things that we can do wherever we're at. And so that's a good goal setter. So set goals for yourself, whether that's, professionally or athletically or whatever that is. It really will help you to find some sort of routine and balance every day. Number 9, some people just won't get it, and that's okay. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, like when you talk to people, you can instantly tell, or we can instantly tell, like when we start explaining what we do to our friends, to family, to new people, you can look into their eyes, and when they have this like glazed look over, you can instantly tell they don't get it. Like they're like, oh, you're just an overglorified homeless person. And it's like, no, we're doing this on purpose. We're living in this van, we're traveling and having all these adventures. Like times aren't tough, times are just different. But you can tell. What?
It's so true. Some of my friends really get it, and other ones, you can tell they're trying so hard to be supportive, but they look at me and you can tell they think, never in a million years would I ever do what you're doing. And that's okay.
It is okay. But when people do get it, when you find somebody who's like, yeah, like I get it, it is like you have found your best friend in the world. You're like, oh, you realize I'm not insane. And so, yes.
I'm crying.
Number 8, everything takes longer than what you think.
You would think that since you live in a very small area, 85-ish square feet, that chores would go like that. There he goes. They don't. You may clean the actual van a lot faster, but there are chores like the toilet and finding water and doing laundry that just automatically takes way more time, whether it's driving from the laundromat to the toilet dump to whatever. Everything takes a lot more time. And we end up setting like one day aside a week where we do all of our chores. But even then, it always takes longer than what we think.
Yes.
It's really amazing, actually.
And sometimes you hit the jackpot. You'll find this place, probably in the suburbs, that has everything that you need. Laundry, groceries, gym, everything.
That you can fit in the parking lot at, too. It's very important.
Yes. And that is like a one-off in the just one-off. Like, it doesn't happen very often. So more than likely, the laundry's on one side of town, the groceries on one side of town, the gym's 30 minutes outside, whatever. And so it does take a long time.
Just allow for that. Number 7, you never stop learning new tips and tricks. And this is really good news because you will start out in van life and you'll realize, I don't know where to find water, or I don't know how to find a toilet dump, or whatever you're looking for. You will slowly start to gain a little bit of routine in that sense of where to go, how to find things, you can look at a parking spot and go, I know I'm gonna fit in that parking spot. Like you just get this this habit of how to navigate all of this, and you'll always finding out new ways to more efficiently do your chores or do your daily whatever it is. Like we're still learning stuff all the time. Is this making sense?
No, it's
very vague.
No, it makes sense, and you can learn from other people too. You can see how other people do van life, and so because the way that we do it may not work for you, but we can learn from you and you can learn from us, and it's a great thing. So you're constantly learning on the road. Number 6, problems are magnified in the van.
Little home, big problems.
Yes. So, and what we mean by this is when something goes wrong, it goes wrong, or it feels like it's the end of the world. Maybe you turn a corner too sharp and something falls off the counter that you forgot to take off the counter. It's the worst. It's the worst. Or maybe, you hit, sometimes we'll take another corner too sharp, and when you'll curb the corner and it just rocks the whole van and you feel like you're in an earthquake.
It puts me in the worst mood sometimes.
So everything, when you have a problem, it feels like a really big problem.
Yeah, space is a problem. So when we're for example, if we're fighting or something, which we never fight.
Never.
But if we're
fighting,
fighting,
perfect couple. Remember this.
There's not really anywhere to run. You can't just you go to the bedroom, I'll hang out in the living room, we'll come back in an hour, we've cooled off and try this again.
Well, sometimes I'll sit in the driver's seat and she'll sit in the bed, and that's about as far as we can go. So.
Anyway, problems do feel bigger when you have a smaller area, just because you may be sometimes I'm tripping over the dog and dinner's burning on the stove, and everything seems so much worse sometimes. But things are also really good. Really high highs, really low lows.
Yeah.
Is kind of what we say.
Yeah.
Number 5, your problems will follow you into van life. I know that sounds obvious, but I think some people do look at this as a way to run away from problems. Just because, you don't like where you live doesn't mean you should move into a van or hit the road for a while, because the problems you're experiencing there are still going to be where you're at.
And like when you're building out your van, like you have a whole set of problems that you're trying to fix then, and then you're like, okay, I just have to get to the van. Like I just have to get to living in the van. But then once you start living in the van, a whole new set of other problems arise. And so it's just about going with the flow.
Life is life, no matter what you live in.
Number 4, don't compare your van life with other van lifers.
Most of what you're seeing on Instagram and stuff, I don't want to call it a lie, because I feel like a lie is harsh.
No, it's a lie.
No.
They're trying to sell you like a feeling, right? Like
An idea.
An idea. And we don't get into that whole like jive too much, because we find that it's fake and it's just an idea, and what's real and beautiful is actually what's right in front of us and the struggles that we're going through right now.
Doesn't mean we're going to take you through every single problem that we have on the road, but we're going to try to stay honest with you guys and say that it's not perfect. Just to say, don't compare your experiences with everybody else online, because we're guilty of that too. And the way people live on the road is going to be very different from how we live on the road. Mm-hmm. Some people take it as almost like a sabbatical for a year or something, and they just go and they have fun. They've saved some money and it's a vacation to them. And then you have people like us who aren't on vacation, we're still working our jobs, and so we see them out hiking on a Monday and thinking, well, how the heck are they doing that? I'm sitting in my van working on my computer. Yeah. Number 3, leave places better than you found them. How we like to do it is we don't want to exploit these places. There's a reason why we don't tell you guys where we're staying after the matter. We don't want to, if we have this really great place that we stay, we're not going to tell online, because we don't want that place to be filled up with thousands of other people's, because we want to respect that thing that can't handle the crowds. And that's just sort of our standard. But on top of that, we'll pull into, say, like a Walmart. So Walmarts are great if you have a long driving day. Say you're driving 8 or 9 hours and you pull into the town at 8 o'clock at night and you don't want to get a campground, you're leaving first thing in the morning. Walmart's awesome. But if you want to talk some, sorry.
Walmart's awesome for that, but when you pull in a parking lot and you see another RV, another van, and they've got all their chairs, their rug, their awning out, they've got their green egg ham, like grilling, whatever. Like,
is there free campground? So 99% of the people who are traveling on the road, retirees or millennials or anywhere in between, they are responsible and they're respectful. But there is that 1% out there who is messing it up for the rest of us, who, like if we are going to Walmart, we try to buy from Walmart that night just to say, hey, thank you. And we always ask permission no matter where we're going. Yeah. So just be respectful, because you don't want to ruin it for people who do need it. Because we have called places when it's been really late at night saying, hey, we're just passing through town, we're pulling in late, leaving early, can we stay in the parking lot? And they'll say, no, people have abused it and left so much trash out there, we don't allow it anymore. Yeah. And that sort of stinks, because then we're out of a place to stay on that long road trip. And so just be respectful, because there are going to be other people behind you who are trying to do the same thing.
Yes.
So hey, don't abuse. I don't know how to say this nicely.
Yeah, and we don't know how to, we don't mean to get on a soapbox. We don't mean to
holier than thou.
Yeah, we're not holier than thou. It's literally just, it's frustrating. Yeah. It's just frustrating. So.
And this goes for public lands too. We've been on public, national forests and stuff like that, and people have trashed it. Guys, that's not leave no trace.
Well,
So just, mind your manners.
Number 2, it's okay to hate van life.
We don't hate it. We love it 99% of the time. More like 95. But 95% of the time we really like it. But I know that the first time I ever felt the what the heck have we done moving into a van moment was about 6 weeks in. It was cold and it was rainy, and I felt so guilty when I said, I hate this van. And I was so mad. I thought I had made the biggest mistake of my life. The moment passed the next morning when it was sunny again, but I felt really guilty because I thought everybody else is loving doing this lifestyle on the road. I mean, Instagram says it's perfect, right? Which isn't, that's not really how we got into this, but it's okay to feel like you've made a mistake every now and then, and to have those days where you go, what am I doing? Because it is an unusual lifestyle, and it's not for everyone. But don't feel guilty when you have those days where it's just so bad. You're not the only one out there.
Yeah, but when those days start like adding up, and that's all that you're saying,
yeah,
then you may need to like reevaluate where you're at.
Because it's not for everyone. And when we have those days where we say, okay, our time's almost done in the van, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's okay. There's no shame in quitting. It's not. I mean, you're living in the van. Like,
yeah.
It's not
quitting. It's not quitting either. It's just moving on from one season to another season. So.
Growth. And our final, most important point, one that we wished we had been told before we hit the road.
Yeah.
Document it for yourself. Don't document it for other people. You don't have to have an Instagram or a YouTube. We had both. But truthfully, we take far more pictures. We take pictures every single day. We post on Instagram maybe twice a week usually. It's not very often because we really want to remember our times. It's been a lot of fun. And if those times we don't take pictures, it's easy to forget that. And so that's just our way of documenting. Yeah,
and I think you can tell our last video that we just put up, our like year in review, the very beginning of the video is a lot more like photos and real quick snippets. And that's because we didn't document as much as we probably should have or would have liked.
And YouTube really is a way for, besides the F.A.Q series, we're trying to help you guys with these, but a lot of our fun videos, they may seem sporadic sometimes, but it's really just us documenting fun things, and we're just really glad you guys enjoy those too. But it's been a really fun way just to look back and be like, oh yeah, that was a really good time. So
well, hey, thanks for watching this F.A.Q video. If you like this video, you can go to the other F.A.Q videos if you have other questions, or maybe there is a question we haven't answered yet. You can go to letsbe.us/questions and there you can submit a question and maybe we will answer it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's all for now. To our friends who did reach out with this question this week, I think they're actually hitting the road today is what they said. So good luck, you guys, and hopefully we'll see you out there.
All right. See you guys.